The fall of Novalis. Novalis was known throughout the galaxy as the jewel of the outer rim. Its crystal lakes reflected the light of twin suns, casting rainbow patterns across the white stone buildings that dotted the landscape. The colony was home to nearly 3 million souls, scientists, farmers, artists, and families who had sought a peaceful existence away from the politics and conflicts of the galactic core. Governor Celine Varda stood at the window of the Central Command Tower, watching children play in the community park below. 6 years of leadership had brought prosperity to Novalis. Trade agreements with neighboring systems had strengthened their economy, and their research facilities had made breakthroughs in agricultural science that promised to end hunger in the sector. "Another beautiful day, isn't it?" said Commander Torin as he stepped beside her. Celine nodded, a small smile crossing her lips. "Sometimes I forget how fortunate we are." The proximity alarm shattered their moment of peace, a harsh, blaring sound that neither had heard outside of quarterly drills. Torin rushed to the console as the command center erupted into frantic activity. Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace, called the sensor officer, her voice tight with tension. "Hundreds of them. Governor, they're not broadcasting identification signals." Before Celine could respond, the main view screen flickered to life, showing a terrifying sight. A vast armada of black ships, their hulls adorned with blood-red markings, emerging from hyperspace like a swarm of locusts descending on a field. "Kordath Dominion," Torin whispered, his face pale. The Kordath were the nightmares of the Outer Rim, a species driven by conquest, who believed that strength came through domination. They did not negotiate, did not show mercy, and did not take prisoners. Worlds that fell to the Kordath were stripped of resources and left barren. "Sound the colony-wide alarm," Celine ordered, her voice steady despite the fear gripping her heart. "Begin emergency evacuation protocols immediately. Get everyone to the shelters." "Governor," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the lid ship." The screen changed to show a Kordath commander, gray-scaled skin stretched tight over a skeletal face, eyes like burning coals in deep sockets. When it spoke, its voice was like metal scraping against stone. "People of Novalis, your world has been chosen for harvest. Your resources will strengthen the Dominion. Resistance is." It paused, mandibles clicking in what might have been amusement. "Encouraged. It makes the hunt more satisfying." The transmission cut off. Seconds later, the first barrage hit the orbital defense platforms. Explosions bloomed in the upper atmosphere, visible even from the ground as bright flashes of light. "Orbital defenses are failing," shouted the defense officer. "They're targeting our communications array." "Send distress signals to all nearby systems," Celine ordered. "Priority channel to the Galactic Council. Tell them we're under attack by the Kordath, and request immediate assistance." Outside the command tower, chaos erupted as civilians rushed toward evacuation shelters. The colony's modest defense force mobilized, setting up barricades and distributing weapons to volunteers. They all knew it wouldn't be enough. The first wave of Kordath landing craft tore through the atmosphere like meteors, their engines howling as they descended toward the colony's perimeter. Where they landed, death followed. Kordath shock troops pouring out, their plasma weapons cutting down anything that moved. From the command center, Celine coordinated what defense they could muster. Civilian transports launched, carrying children and the elderly toward the emergency bunkers in the mountains. The colony's few military vessels engaged the Kordath ships, trying to buy time for the evacuation. "Governor," the communications officer called out, "we've received a response from the Galactic Council." Hope flickered briefly in Celine's eyes. "Put it through." The message was brief and devastating. "Request received. Unable to dispatch assistance at this time due to strategic considerations. Recommend surrender to minimize civilian casualties." Silence fell over the command center. They had been abandoned. "Strategic considerations." Torin spat the words like poison. "They're afraid to confront the Kordath directly. They've sacrificed us." Celine's hands clenched into fists. "We won't surrender." Not to the Kordath. Everyone knows what happens to those who do. Hours passed as the battle raged. The colony's defenders fought with desperate courage, but they were hopelessly outmatched. One by one, the defensive positions fell. The Kordath advanced methodically, sector by sector, destroying everything in their path. By nightfall, the command center was one of the last structures still holding out. The shields were failing, power fluctuating as the generators strained beyond capacity. Most of the staff had been evacuated to the mountain bunkers, leaving only a skeleton crew behind. Celine stood in the war room, watching the tactical display as red indicators, representing Kordath forces, surrounded the blue dot of the command center. "The last evacuation transport is ready, Governor," Torin said quietly. "It's time to go." She shook her head. "Not yet. There are still people out there." "Governor, please," he insisted. "You can't help them if you're dead." A massive explosion shook the building, sending dust cascading from the ceiling. The tactical display flickered and went dark. "Direct hit on the east shield generator," reported a technician. "Main shields are down. We have localized barriers only." Another explosion, closer this time. The lights dimmed, emergency power kicking in with a low hum. "Governor," the sensor officer called out, her voice suddenly confused. "I'm detecting something." "More Kordath ships?" Celine asked, moving quickly to the console. "No, these signatures are different. Smaller, faster, hundreds of them, entering the atmosphere at high velocity." Torin leaned over the console, studying the readings. "Those aren't ships. They're too small. Drop pods, maybe." "From whom?" Celine asked. "The council said they wouldn't help." Before anyone could answer, the communication system crackled to life. A voice, human, female, with the crisp precision of military training, came through clearly. "Novelist Command, this is Captain Lara Chen, 7th Orbital Drop Battalion, Earth Special Forces. We've received your distress call and are inbound. I repeat, Earth forces are inbound. Hold your position." Stunned silence filled the command center. Earth had never involved itself in galactic conflicts, maintaining strict neutrality since joining the interstellar community decades ago. They sent observers to council meetings but rarely spoke. They traded but kept their borders closed to most species. They were a mystery. Rumors spoke of a violent history, of a species that had nearly destroyed itself before reaching the stars. "Earth is sending troops." Torin finally broke the silence. "Why would they help us?" On the sensor display, the small objects, drop pods, as Torin had guessed, streaked through the atmosphere, spreading out to land at key points across the battlefield. They moved with precision that spoke of careful planning and coordination. Another message came through. "Novelist Command, prepare for support. Ghost Protocol initiated." I say again, Ghost Protocol initiated. Outside, the night sky lit up as hundreds of black pods slammed into the ground around the colony. The Kordath, momentarily confused by this new development, redirected some of their forces to investigate. The pod that landed nearest to the command center hit with enough force to crack the pavement. As Kordath troops approached, weapons raised, the pod's door blew outward, and a figure emerged. The soldier was encased in matte black armor that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. No insignia marked the suit except for a small emblem on the shoulder, a stylized phoenix rising from ashes. The helmet completely obscured the face, with only a darkened visor where eyes should be. In the soldier's hands was a weapon unlike anything seen on Novelist before, compact but radiating lethal potential. The Kordath opened fire. The armored figure moved with impossible speed, dodging plasma bolts that should have incinerated them. Then the human counterattacked. The weapon made almost no sound, just a soft, whispering noise. But the Kordath soldiers began to fall, precise shots finding gaps in their armor. More pods opened, more black-armored figures emerging. They moved like shadows, coordinating without visible communication, striking with surgical precision. Where the colony's defenders had struggled for hours to hold back the Kordath advance, these newcomers cut through them like a scythe through grain. In the command center, the tactical display had come back online, and the staff watched in awe as blue dots, representing the human soldiers, appeared across the battlefield, moving fast, leaving trails of neutralized Kordath in their wake. "What are they?" whispered one of the technicians. Toran shook his head slowly. "I don't know. I've never seen anyone fight like this." Celine couldn't take her eyes off the display. "They call themselves ghosts." The Kordath, facing unexpected resistance, began to concentrate their forces, bringing in heavier weapons and air support. But the humans adapted instantly, changing tactics to counter each move. Some used the colony's buildings for cover, setting ambushes. Others operated in the open, their armor seemingly able to deflect or absorb enemy fire. A group of 3 humans approached the command center, cutting through the Kordath siege force with methodical efficiency. When they reached the entrance, Celine ordered the doors opened. The soldiers entered, their movements fluid and controlled, scanning for threats even in this supposedly secure area. One of them stepped forward and removed their helmet, revealing a woman with dark hair cut short, her face marked with the subtle lines of experience rather than age. Her eyes were the most striking feature, gray and intensely focused, missing nothing. "Captain Chen." She introduced herself with a nod that was almost a bow. "Governor Varda, I presume." Celine nodded, finding her voice. "Yes, thank you for coming. But why? Earth has never intervened in conflicts beyond your borders." Chen's expression remained neutral, professional. "That policy has changed. The Kordath crossed a line when they attacked civilian populations in this sector. The Council abandoned us," Torin said bitterly. "They said they couldn't help." A ghost of a smile crossed Chen's face. "The Council talks. Earth acts. Now, we need to secure your command systems. This isn't over yet." As if to punctuate her words, a massive explosion shook the building. Chen's hand flew to her helmet comm. "Status report," she barked. The male voice responded, audible to everyone in the room. "Kordath flagship has arrived in orbit, Captain. They're launching everything they've got. Reinforcements, a lot of them." Chen's eyes met Celine's. "Governor, we've bought you some time." But this just got significantly more complicated. Outside the command center windows, the night sky filled with the burning trails of Kordath dropships, hundreds of them, far more than before. The battle for Novalis was far from over. "What do we do now?" Celine asked, her voice quiet but steady. Chen replaced her helmet, her voice gaining a mechanical edge through the suit's speakers. "Now, Governor, now we show the Kordath why Earth has always been feared. The ghosts of Earth." The night sky above Novalis blazed with the burning trails of Kordath dropships. Their flagship, a massive vessel that blotted out the stars, had arrived, disgorging wave after wave of reinforcements. The brief hope that had flickered to life with the arrival of Earth's forces now seemed in danger of being extinguished. Inside the command center, Captain Chen studied the tactical display with Governor Celine and Commander Toran. The holographic map showed thousands of Kordath troops surrounding their position, with more landing every minute. "They've called in their entire regional fleet," Toran said, his voice tight. "They must consider Earth's intervention a direct challenge." Chen nodded calmly. "Good. That's exactly what we wanted." Celine and Toran exchanged puzzled glances. "I don't understand," Celine said. "You wanted them to bring reinforcements." "The Kordath have been terrorizing the outer rim for too long," Chen explained, her fingers tracing patterns on the tactical display. "Earth has been watching, gathering intelligence. We needed them to commit a significant portion of their fleet to one location." Chen tapped her helmet comm. "Phantom actual to all teams. Execute Phase 2. Acknowledgements came in. Terse, professional responses from the field commanders." Chen turned back to the Novalis leaders. "Governor, I need to ask something difficult of you and your people. I need you to trust us completely for the next few hours. Can you do that? Celine hesitated only briefly. You came when no one else would. You've already saved countless lives. What do you need? Evacuate this command center. Get your remaining people to the mountain bunkers. Chen's gray eyes were steady, revealing nothing. What happens next isn't something civilians should witness. Toran bristled. This is our home. We should fight for it. And you have, Commander, Chen said, her voice softening slightly. But this isn't your war anymore. It's ours. Outside, the battle intensified. The Kordath, realizing that they faced a new and dangerous enemy, had changed tactics. They no longer advanced recklessly, but moved in tight formations, supporting each other with overlapping fields of fire. Heavy weapons had been deployed, including walking armored units that towered 3 stories high. Yet the humans, the phantoms, as they called themselves, continued to fight with the same deadly efficiency. They seemed to anticipate the Kordath movements, always one step ahead, striking where the enemy was weakest. How are they doing this? Celine asked as she watched the display. Your soldiers are outnumbered at least 20 to 1. Earth has a saying, Chen replied. It's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. We've been preparing for this moment for years. As the Novalis command staff prepared to evacuate, more Earth drop pods slammed into the colony's outskirts. These were different, larger, heavier. When they opened, they revealed not soldiers but equipment, weapon platforms, mobile shield generators, and strange devices that immediately began to emit pulses of energy. Electronic warfare suites, Chen explained, noting Celine's questioning look. The Kordath rely heavily on networked systems. We're about to cut their neural net at the knees. The effect was immediate and dramatic. On the tactical display, Kordath formations that had been moving with coordinated precision suddenly fragmented. Their communications, jammed or corrupted by Earth's technology, left them confused and isolated. The Phantoms exploited this chaos mercilessly. Small teams of 3 or 4 soldiers infiltrated Kordath positions, eliminated key leaders, and disappeared before reinforcements could arrive. Others targeted supply lines and heavy weapons, using explosives that could penetrate the thickest armor. As Celine prepared to board the last transport with her staff, she paused beside Chen. Captain, the Kordath. They don't retreat. They'll fight to the last soldier. Chen nodded. We're counting on it. The transport lifted off, heading for the relative safety of the mountain bunkers. From this higher vantage point, Celine could see the full scope of the battle below. The colony was in ruins, buildings shattered, streets cratered from explosives. Yet amid this destruction, the black armored figures of Earth's soldiers moved with purpose, gradually pushing back the Kordath forces. In orbit, another drama unfolded. The sensors in the bunker showed new contacts dropping out of hyperspace. Earth ships, sleek and predatory, engaging the Kordath fleet. They were outnumbered but fought with the same tactical brilliance as their ground forces, targeting propulsion and weapons systems with surgical precision. Hours passed. The battle raged across the colony and in the space above it. The Kordath fought with increasing desperation, throwing everything they had against the human forces. But the Phantoms never faltered, never retreated. Then, as the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, Chen's voice came through on the emergency channel. Governor Varda, this is Captain Chen. The Kordath flagship is attempting to retreat. Request permission to use emergency protocols on Novalis soil. Celine exchanged looks with Toran before responding. What exactly does that entail, Captain? A directed electromagnetic pulse, Chen answered. It will temporarily disable electronics in the target area, but it's the only way to prevent their escape. Once they report back to their high command, we lose the element of surprise against their other fleets. Celine closed her eyes briefly. Most of the colony's infrastructure was already destroyed, and the few systems still functioning could be restarted. Permission granted, Captain. Understood. All Phantom units, clear the target area. EMP deployment in 3 minutes. High above Novalis, one of the Earth vessels released a small probe that accelerated toward the Kordeth flagship. The alien vessel, its engines straining as it attempted to reach the safe distance for a hyperspace jump, detected the approaching threat too late. The probe detonated in a soundless flash of blue-white energy. An expanding sphere of electromagnetic disturbance engulfed the Kordeth ship, cascading through its systems, shutting down engines, weapons, and life support. Powerless, it began to drift. Similar, smaller devices detonated across the battlefield below, targeting concentrations of Kordeth forces. Their advanced technology, the advantage that had made them so feared, became useless in an instant. What followed wasn't a battle but a cleanup operation. The Phantoms methodically eliminated remaining resistance, while Earth ships secured the disabled Kordeth vessels. By mid-morning, it was over. The Kordeth Dominion, which had terrorized the Outer Rim for decades, had suffered its first major defeat. Celine and her staff returned to what remained of the command center to find Captain Chen waiting, her helmet removed, looking tired but satisfied. "The colony is secure, Governor," she reported. "We've begun treating wounded Kordeth prisoners and have secured their command codes from the flagship. The threat to this sector has been neutralized." Celine looked out at the devastation, struggling to process everything that had happened. "Captain, I don't know how to thank you. You saved not just Novalis, but likely dozens of other worlds that would have fallen next." Chen shook her head. "No thanks necessary. We did what had to be done." "But why?" Torin asked the question that had been on everyone's mind. Why did Earth decide to intervene now, after staying neutral for so long? Chen was quiet for a moment, choosing her words carefully. "Earth has a complicated history. Before we reached the stars, we nearly destroyed ourselves many times over. War was our constant companion. When we finally achieved interstellar travel and discovered we weren't alone in the universe, we made a choice to observe rather than participate, to learn from other species' mistakes instead of repeating our own." She paused, looking out at the horizon where Earth soldiers were helping Novalis civilians emerge from shelters. "But some of us believed we had a responsibility, that the lessons we learned through centuries of conflict could serve a greater purpose. The Galactic Council preaches peace but lacks the will to enforce it. We watched the Kordeth grow bolder with each unpunished atrocity until we couldn't stand by any longer." "So Earth has declared war on the Kordeth?" Celine asked. "Not officially," Chen replied with a slight smile. "The Phantoms don't officially exist. Our government maintains plausible deniability. But the message has been sent nonetheless. In the days that followed, Earth ships brought aid and supplies to Novalis. Medical teams treated the injured while engineering corps began the long process of rebuilding critical infrastructure. The Phantoms maintained security, ensuring the Kordeth wouldn't return. Word of what happened spread quickly across the sector. The mysterious human warriors who had appeared from nowhere to defeat the undefeatable Kordeth became the subject of rumors and speculation. Some called them saviors. Others wondered what Earth would demand in return for their intervention. 1 week after the battle, Captain Chen found Governor Celine standing amid the ruins of what had once been a school, now being rebuilt by a mix of colonists and Earth engineers. "We'll be leaving tomorrow," Chen said without preamble. "The immediate danger has passed, and the Council has finally decided to send peacekeepers." Celine nodded. Now that the hard work is done, they're eager to take credit. "Politics," Chen said with a shrug. "Some things are universal constants." "What happens now?" Celine asked. "With Earth, I mean. Will you return to isolation?" Chen watched as a group of children played nearby, seemingly unfazed by the destruction around them, the resilience of youth on full display. "No," she said finally. "That era is over. Earth has remembered something important that we tried to forget, that with great power comes great responsibility. The Kordeth will regroup, and other threats will emerge. The galaxy is a dangerous place, and the Phantoms will be there," Celine concluded. "Where we're needed," Chen confirmed. Not as conquerors, not as police, but as guardians. We don't seek control or dominance. We've learned those lessons the hard way, but we won't stand by while the innocent suffer. The next morning, the Earth ships departed as suddenly as they had arrived. No formal treaties were signed, no alliances declared, but something fundamental had changed in the political landscape of the galaxy. In the Galactic Council, representatives debated the implications of Earth's actions, some with alarm, others with relief. The Kordath Dominion pulled back its forces from contested borders, suddenly cautious where they had once been bold. And across the Outer Rim, on vulnerable colonies like Novalis, people looked up at the stars with new hope. The ghosts of Earth were watching, and the predators that had once moved with impunity now glanced over their shoulders, wondering if those whispered legends might be waiting in the shadows. In her rebuilt office, Governor Selim received a small package delivered by an anonymous courier. Inside was a simple communication device with only one channel, and a note that read, "If you ever need us again, I'll see." Selim placed the device in her desk drawer, hoping she would never need to use it, but profoundly grateful for its presence. Outside her window, the twin suns of Novalis set over a colony that was wounded but unbroken, its people forever changed by the knowledge that even in the darkest hour, when all seemed lost, help could arrive from the most unexpected source. The legend of the phantoms grew, spreading from world to world. The silent guardians who appeared when needed most and vanished just as quickly, asking nothing in return. Earth had finally found its place in the galactic community not through politics or trade, but through action, protecting those who could not protect themselves, standing against bullies and tyrants, and reminding the galaxy that sometimes the most powerful force isn't the one that conquers but the one that defends.